Welcome back to Southpaw Picks, and you're here with your host Charles, and this is UFC Fight Night. Holmes versus Ketlen Vieira, and it's going down Saturday. We got an 11-fight card ahead of us. Some decent spots on this card, some underdogs that we should be looking into. But before we get into that breakdown, I'm going to give you guys a quick recap of how we did last week. Fortunately, we go 4-7 on predictions, but if you remember a lot in that breakdown, I said that I'm going to be siding with the favorite, but I'm going to be taking shots on some underdogs. I took an undershot, obviously, on that Andre Pachowski. That line was off, and we didn't get to see his gas tank get put to the test, and he was able to get the first round finish. Nasty choke. We also took the shot on Ryan Spann, just based on the volatility of the light heavyweight division. It was worth the stab at that point. And we hit some other underdogs as far as Alen Nascimento. We had a wonderful night overall, and we profited 10 units, and that brings us to 50 units for the year. So we're at the halfway point. We're gonna try and get 100 units, and let's keep rolling through and dominating. We got a packed summer of fights ahead of us, but we do have a week off next week. But without further ado, let's get into the breakdowns. Kicking off with the main event, we got a bantamweight bout between Holmes versus Ketlen Vieira. Now, Holmes is making her return after being away for 2 years, coming off a very phenomenal performance against Irene Aldana, who was a top contender in bantamweight. And Ketlen Vieira, on her side, pretty spotty record, winning some and losing some. Losses to the likes of Irene Aldana and Yana Kunitskaya. Now, Ketlen Vieira, although 10 years younger, she's very plotting. She kind of throws heavy hooks, and she does seem to gas out there. She doesn't seem like she has the best gas tank. Although she is a big girl, she's tough, she's physical. She can hurt Holmes in these exchanges. But if Holmes shows up, even 75%, 80% of what she was and usually shows up as, she's better than Ketlen Vieira pretty much everywhere. Better striking, better movement, the strength. It's going to be interesting to see who's physically stronger in this matchup, but Holmes is very strong and hasn't really been muscled around in the octagon, I would say. So, you know, and I haven't really seen Ketlen necessarily muscle everyone around. You just gotta like Holmes here as far as skill level. Now, she is 40 years, coming off a 2-year layoff. It's an interesting spot. She's minus 250. I think the best way you play that is Holmes by decision, or you take a shot on the underdog in a sense. But at minus 250, 2-year layoff, 40 years old, it's not something I'm gonna get involved in. But worst case, if you got a sprinkle on the dog here, she is 10 years younger. I don't see how she gets it done. Maybe a late takedown in the submission, but I'm going to go with Holmes by decision. Moving on down the card to the co-main event, probably, you know, the people's main event of the night. We got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Michel Pereira. Now, I'm going to start here on the Ponzinibbio side, and a very interesting a sort of events as he's come back to the UFC after his long layoff. He was battling with a knee injury and I'm pretty sure like a viral disease. He took a lot of time off his career, returned the KO by Jinling Liang. I had a play on him against Miguel Baeza, and then I had a play against him with Jeff Neal. So I'm 2-0 as far as betting Ponzinibbio's bets. And on the other side here with Michel Pereira, you know, we've been riding together through a couple of these bouts, the Chaos Williams, the Zelim Imadaev, and the Nico Price. I don't believe I took him in the Nico Price because of the odds, but he did pull that out and picked him to win in those spots. But Chaos Williams and Zelim Imadaev. And the things those two guys have in common, I believe, with Santiago, is that they were pretty much pressure and boxing-oriented fighters. And I do believe Santiago could apply a lot of volume. It is a small cage. He will have the opportunity to get to Pereira. But I also do believe Pereira is a lot more meticulous when he fights in the apex opposed to when he's fighting with a crowd. I do believe the crowd gives him the opportunity to take a lot more risks to excite the crowd, and he kind of overexerts his energy. So when you see him look bad in these third rounds, You got to take it into perspective, the atmosphere, and he's such a showman. He's not getting himself under control. Now here at the apex, here at this big spot here, we got two guys that are very, very skilled. This fight could go either way. That's why the odds are picking with a slight lean to Michel Pereira. And I'm going to go with Pereira. I do believe he's going to bounce around on the outside, stick the jab, land the harder punches on Santiago coming in. I do believe the size will play a part too as far as grappling goes. Now, listen, the Argentinian dagger, Santiago, he definitely can land a heavy shot. They're both very skilled. I just believe Pereira is just going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit bigger, and just out-edge him. I could see Santiago winning a round as being like a close 29-28 decision, but I'm going to go with Pereira by decision. Moving on down, we got a middleweight fight between Chidi Njokuani versus Dusko Todorovic, and you know, what an insane matchup here. Interesting with the Dusko. I did have a play on him against Makipatolo, but other than that, I faded him going out, and he's very hittable. His head is up there, decent ground and pound. I want you to know, when he does get the fight to the ground, in most cases he does finish the fight. I think Chidi has a speed advantage, a power advantage, just an overall technical ability. There is a scenario where Dusko somehow manages to get a takedown and, you know, ground and pounds Chidi out. But the recent form Chidi has come into, this to me is, it seems a bit like a layup. I just don't believe Dusko has the right defensive abilities to stay safe in this matchup. And I don't know if he's going to go in there and be over-aggressive and want to run into anything, right? We saw Chidi put out Marc-Andre Barrios, who's never been knocked out, and he put him out in 16 seconds. And I think a knockout here is in the future. Although Dusko did wear a lot of those shots from Gregor Rodriguez, who we know is a powerful puncher. It's pretty simple. I believe Chidi got way more skills here in the matchup, unless he gets stuck on the ground. And even then, I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. With all this experience, with all this time, black belt jiu-jitsu, that he will have a bit of defensive ability. You know, he's been cut down in some spots, but I do believe the guys that got him down in those spots were a little bit better, a lot better than Dusko in the wrestling department. Dusko is a striker by trait and not on the level as Chidi here. So give me Chidi by knockout, probably the second round. Moving on down, we got a strawweight bout between Polyana Viana versus Tabatha Ricci. And going down in this fight, I've had a decent success with Polyana Viana pulling off these arm bars from guard, but she's got it over two girls in the strawweight division that haven't quite panned out. Two girls that have been giving up submissions in losses and been finishing losses. And then we got a girl here on this side, Tabatha Ricci, credentialed jiu-jitsu player. As you see, she does like to play from the top control. Polyana Viana does accept bottom position a lot. Now, Polyana is faster. Decent body kick, decent 1-2s. I mean, she does have a knockout over Amanda Hebas. And I do like her speed in there. Now, Tabatha Ricci on the feet, you know, it's very questionable. But I do believe this fight will end up on the ground in a one way, shape, or form. I do believe Tabatha Ricci can get the blast double takedowns. I do believe also, too, she will be able to protect herself from the armbar from guard. So that leads me to the position that I think Polyana will lay it on her back on the floor and give up a lot of top control. Now, the way this gets tricky is that how effective is Polyana going to be? You know, how dangerous is she going to be in the grappling transitions? I mean, they both are highly credentialed. They both show the jiu-jitsu in different ways. Obviously, the style of Tabatha Ricci is the style that the judges like. But I do see this a situation where Polyana probably has decent minutes on the feet, gets taken down, top control, maybe not the most effective top control, and it's going to depend on the judges on how they want to score this fight. I do believe it's going to be close, but because I know Polyana always ends up on her back in fights, and I do believe she's always searching for that Hail Mary armbar, I think Tabatha Ricci grinds her out here and wins an unanimous. Wins a split decision here in a close fight where some people might think Viana won, some people might think Ricci won. And, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles. So Tabatha Ricci by decision. Moving on down, we got another middleweight contest. Eryk, your boy Anders versus Junyong Park, aka the Iron Turtle. Now, this is an interesting spot. Seeing them today at the weigh-ins, you really got the opportunity to see the size, disparity between Eryk Anders and Junyong Park, and not to be confused, the physicality of these two guys may not be the same, but the skill level to me is on the Junyong Park side. Now, how does Eryk Anders win this fight? Well, he's not going to win this fight just standing up, right? He's going to need to apply a lot of grappling, and we've seen when he does this, he can slow down. He doesn't seem to me like a guy who's full into MMA and kind of doesn't always showcase his best work out there. Now, there's a path to victory. He's a big, strong guy. They're in a little cage. But Junyong Park, to me, just has better boxing, better leg kicks. I love when he's on the ground and he scrambles. He does work to fight out of position. And I just don't believe Eryk Anders is on the level of a Gregory Rodriguez in grappling or Anthony Hernandez in grappling. And, in that aspect, I don't think Eryk Anders wins this by, anything else but like a lucky punch into a takedown into a ground and pound. Other than that, I think Junyong Park completely schools him here in every aspect. Now, the line is minus 200. I'm not a fan of it, but, I am a fan of betting good fighters. I always say this all the time. You got to bet good fighters. And, that's what I'm going to stand by. I'm going to go with Junyong Park by decision, although I do know Eryk Anders can be dangerous in this spot with the physicality. I'm going to say technique wins out and cardio wins out. Give me Junyong Park by unanimous decision. Moving on down here, we got Joseph Uglyman Holmes versus Alen Amedovski. Now, this is low-level MMA, right? I mean, 10 fights between the two of them. One guy coming off a 2-year layoff where, he got starched in 16 seconds, and then losing to Krzysztof Jotko, which is not a bad loss. Then you got another guy in, Joseph Holmes, very, very, very green, but having all the athletic attributes you need in a fight. He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage, he's 6'4" to 5'10", and with all those advantages going in his favor, plus the youth, you'd think you'd like him, but to me, he's just too green. You got to ask yourself, these losses here Alen Amedovski has, right? He's a 8-0 coming in here facing 19-4 Krzysztof Jotko. He's 9 fights in. He's fighting a 30-fight veteran in John Phillips, right? And then down the regional scene, you see 7-1, 4-0, and I think in this regard, you got to give this guy the opportunity to showcase his ability against someone low level like him. And I believe Joseph Holmes is at that level where he's just not there yet, and he might not be there yet. And with 2 years off, we really don't know how much improvement Alen Amedovski has made. He can come back out here a completely different fighter than what we saw. The only thing I know is I saw Joseph Holmes recently, and he did not look that impressive. Doesn't look like he belongs in the UFC at this moment. And Alen Amedovski lost to guys that I know belong in the UFC. Well, not John Phillips anymore, but Krzysztof Jotko. So I'm going to go with the dog here. Despite the height and the reach disadvantage here, I just feel like the upside here for Alen Amedovski, especially with the money line. Not sure if you really want to take the chance and bet on a guy 2 years off, but at this spot, the unknowns, you got to go Alen Amedovski. And I'm going to take him to win by the way he knows how, by knockout. Moving on down the card. I know you guys are probably surprised about that pick, but that's how I'm feeling about that. Moving on down, we got a custom rules clown show showcase fight here. We got Parker Porter versus Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida is jumping up to the heavyweight division, and he's going to go up against a guy here in Parker Porter that has probably a 65 to 70 pound weight advantage, despite the size and reach of Jailton Almeida, who is the bigger man. I just like the athleticism. I like the grappling. I like the ability here of Jailton Almeida to just go in there, get the takedown of Parker Porter, pound him out on the ground, or get the sub. And if Parker Porter does survive, pass around, where we know this guy Jailton really just, goes out there and empties the tank right away. If Parker Porter survives the first round, take a shot on him. Take a shot on him. You know he's durable. You know he can withstand a dogfight. You know he is the natural heavyweight. So if Jailton does get tired, dealing with a guy that size who he does show an ability he can't get you down to the floor and just put that weight on you. Live bet him after round 1. Unless he has an outstanding round 1, which I can't see. I imagine Jailton Almeida is literally, as soon as the fight begins, shoot a takedown, pick Parker Porter right up, slam him on the ground, establish mount, probably get the rear naked choke really quickly. But if he doesn't, you gotta take a shot on Parker Porter, man. But give me Jailton Almeida, and give me Jailton Almeida by first round finish, and I like that spot there. Moving on down, we got a lightweight bout between Omar Morales versus Uros Medic. And Uros Medic, like I said, one of those guys where it's so difficult to really understand how good he is. Like, you watch him, he comes out, balls to the wall, goes all out, throws an insane amount of volume, looks aggressive, and then, as soon as he met a little bit of resistance, well, I'm not saying a little bit, a lot of resistance, as soon as he met resistance, he got finished very, very shortly by Jalen Turner. He looked exhausted. And I'm also going to kind of look at the side as Jalen Turner is phenomenal. Now we got a guy here, Omar Morales, a guy that I have bet on a couple times and I have bet against a couple times. Bet against him in the Giga Chikadze fight. Rolled him with Shea Young and bet against him against Jonathan Pierce. He's a decent fighter. He's been going up and down between featherweight and lightweight. He's undefeated at lightweight, but he is at the age of 36. And it just makes me wonder just how fast can Uros start here. Can he get the quick finish? He does have the capability to do it, but he also showed the capability not to fight past 2 rounds, right? You look at his record, he hasn't really gone deep in fights. And this is what now, since his last fight? 7-month layoff. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that can happen. He's 29 years old. I think we will see an either slow-paced Uros Medic, or maybe he comes out for the kill already. It's a very difficult fight to get a gauge on here. It's because, as you can see, Uros has the stopping power. He has the finishing ability. He could go out there and just spark Omar. But if Omar is able to withstand it, which he's capable of, he showed it, he's tough, I kind of see him just breaking down Uros as the fight goes on, He's got a lot more experience. He's training over there at Sanford. Decent kickboxing, decent grappling. Stay defensively sound. Pick this guy apart in the later rounds. Give me Omar Morales by unanimous decision. Moving on down, we got a bantamweight bout between Jonathan Martinez and Vince Morales. Now, Jonathan Martinez is a fighter I'm fond of. Definitely Vince Morales has been in there with, I would say, a bit of high-level competition. But I just love Jonathan Martinez's style, man. The low kicks, the high kicks, the knees, the jabs. He's an awesome fighter to watch, and he's tough, and he's very well-rounded, decent takedown defense, and just a young and improving fighter that we watched over a couple of years here. And on the other side here, we have Vince Morales, who's kind of, made a bit of a turn in his career and put together a couple back-to-back performances here, and been looking good, right? Was the first guy to put out Luis Smolka. Beat the guy Draco Rodriguez, who kind of flamed out in the UFC. I think he got cut at this point. And look, even on the regional scene, hasn't been picking up wins, so that's not aging well, that win there. And other than that, Ayman Sahabi, a guy that's not very active. And then you see Vince Morales, he's very susceptible to low calf kicks. I mean, every fighter that has faced him has really exploited that spot and that hole in his defense. He does have heavy hands, but we're saying this based off the knockout on Luis Smolka, who kind of was just, in my opinion, leading the charge there, hitting him with low calf kicks. He went to go give him a knee in the clinch and just got hit behind the ear and dropped. I don't know how much stock I put in that matter. Jonathan Martinez has been dropped in some spots, but I just don't think Vince Morales is going to be the guy to drop him. I don't think he has that much accuracy and power in this matchup. I like Jonathan Martinez, and I like him a lot here in this spot, and he's a parlay piece for me. I'm going to take Jonathan Martinez by unanimous decision. Moving on down, one of the most bizarre fights on the card. Definitely not going to parlay this fight, but I want action on it, man. I want action on it. We got Chase the Dream Hooper versus Felipe Colares. Man, Felipe Colares is a tough guy, man. He's a tough guy. He goes out there, he takes a beating. Very similar to Chase Hooper. Goes out there and takes a beating and kind of pushes forward and keeps going. So these guys both got heart. Skill level. I'm going to say Felipe Colares' striking is a little bit ahead of Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper is easy there to be cracked and be hit. He looks awkward. He doesn't take shots very well, but he eats shots. And, Colares has a nice body kick. His boxing is not that dangerous to me, but he has shown the ability to grapple. He has shown the ability to apply top control. Now, Chase Hooper is very good in the scrambling positions, and a fighter like Felipe Colares, who usually strikes into grappling, he's going to put himself at risk for Chase Hooper to scramble and scramble and scramble. And I know he's a black belt, but I just believe the size, the length. Chase Hooper is a tough guy to deal with here. Now, I would never, ever place a bet on Chase Hooper. Actually, I've been betting against him. The only time he got me was the Peter Barrett fight. And look at that, Peter Barrett, very low level. And then we got a guy, Felipe Colares, who's kind of been in there with some dogs in the bantamweight division, right? I mean, he's been up and down at the featherweight, but he's been in there with some guys. I would say he's further ahead in the development now. Just who's going to make the mistake here, because they are going to grapple. You got Chase Hooper with a reach advantage and a height advantage. Not that good of wrestling, but maybe can take the back and wrap up Colares. It's a tricky fight, and you know what? I'm actually going to go with the dog here in Chase Hooper, and I'm going to say he manages to scramble to Colares' back and sink in a rear naked choke. And it's after he's been getting his ass kicked for about 4 minutes of the round, somehow manages a way to get the grappling involved and pulls it off. Felipe, tough guy, I want to assume he's going to get it done, but I just feel like this matchup is going to play into Chase Hooper's favor. And if he does have the skills and if he is the specialist he should get the rear naked choke here. If not, he's going to get his ass kicked the whole fight. And like I said, don't parlay this, but I'm going to say Chase Hooper with the upset. Moving on down to the opening fight on the card, we got Elise Reed versus Sam Hughes. Early on, I was saying Sam Hughes in this spot. I really liked how she came back against Estela Nunes. She's been in there with some tough girls, Luana Pinheiro, Luma Boomy, and Tisha Torres, right? And on the other side, we've only seen Elise Reed in there with Corey McKenna and Sarge. Now, obviously that Sarge fight, up short notice, up a weight class, it wasn't going to go well for her. But I want to say that I do like the competition Elise Reed has faced outside. I do like her striking ability. Now, can Sam Hughes get it to the ground? Sam Hughes is pretty much losing a lot of these fights. And last fight, she really put it on in a tough spot and just out-willed Estela Nunes. She has some decent losses on her record. She's fought a decent level of competition. Lupita Godinez, right? Vanessa Demopoulos. But in this spot here, you have Elise Reed, who to me just has a better pop in her shots, just a little bit more advanced, and just the more seasoned martial artist. I do like the competition level too, right? She's finishing Hillary Rose. Jillian DeCourcy just had a decent win over there in Invicta. Jasmine Judavicius, you see her in the UFC, she looks good. And Corey McGinn, a very credentialed fighter, right? And, I feel like Sam is going to go in there and make it tough. But I gotta give the edge to Elise Reed here. I say she wins a unanimous decision. Probably wins the first 2 rounds, and then maybe Sam has a big 3rd round. I was earlier in the week really on the dog, but I'm switching over, and I'm going to go with Elise Reed to just really land those big shots when needed. And that's it. Come to the end of the breakdown. We have a week off next week. It isn't the best card. 11 fights, and it starts early, so there's nothing to complain about. And we're going to continue to truck along down. Now I'm going to be posting the free public parlays here, so we can have some fun this weekend. And as far as that, I'm not going to have too much units on this card. There's only a few straight shots I like, and we can load up. We got 10 weeks of non-stop, amazing fights. This card's, a bit of a weaker card as far as betting-wise, so we'll see what we can do. Welcome back to Southpaw Picks. Thank you guys for coming, and catch you guys later.